So if you can share with us some useful tip.
Okay. Okay. Top of my mind. I guess it's one of those things that I've learned. I've even heard from like my dad's friends and uncles, and they used to always say this one thing: like if you start a business, you have to wait for at least 3 years before it will start giving any fruit. And honestly, that's kind of makes sense now. It takes that long. Like if you start any business, it's you have to first of all give it your all. You don't get to pay anything to yourself. So it's kind of selfless to a large degree for a long time, unless you're a veteran and you've sold 1 2 businesses and you know a lot of things. But generally when you start a business and you've never done it before, the first 2 3 years are pretty tough. And also sometimes it's better not to have so much money, especially if you've never started a business before. It's better if you don't have that, because you'll end up burning a lot. So be frugal. If you're ever starting something, be very frugal. Don't spend on, just keep it with you till as long as you have, but try to progress also daily. Try to be very productive at the same time. You'll have to do everything yourself. You can't just start employing people in the beginning.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Voice It with Karishma. We have today Mr. Bhaskara Seth with us. He is the co-founder of Neemli Naturals. It is a natural skincare brand, and we're going to discuss today about the entire process of what it took to start the brand, how his journey has been, and the overall perspective about creating a brand which has a natural philosophy. So, firstly, welcome. It's great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being a part of
Thanks
it.
for having me. Yeah, thanks for having me, Karishma.
So,
Glad
so
to
Bhaskara,
be part.
I'm glad. Thank you so much. So,
Mhm.
Bhaskara, tell us about, I've had a look at the products. I've seen the
Mhm.
website. Fantastic job. Congratulations on the brand, first of all. You
Thank you.
know,
Thank you so much.
uh, I wanted to ask you about your journey. Creating a brand from scratch, and especially a product range which is emphasizing on having a very natural base, and inspired by so many different products these days that we get in the market, right?
Mhm.
So, if you can help us your journey, what came into your mind when you wanted to start the brand? Please guide us through that.
Sure, sure. So, actually, our journey, actually, me and our co-founders, it's actually a family-run thing. This is all the way back in 2016. We had nothing to do with skincare, honestly. At that time, there was no expertise. There was no real back knowledge as far as what we were setting out to do. The idea really was that actually, I had come out of a business that I was doing previously, which was more into wedding planning, and it was a wedding portal as such. And my cousin
Yeah.
Manu, he was in the hotel business, and he had just kind of gotten out of it. He had a hobby of making soap bars, these cold processed soap bars, the ones that take a month, 2 months to make, even 6 months. So he was doing this since like almost 6 7 years, where in his hotel he'd learned it through his guests and things like that in Himachal. And in Diwali and all, he would send gifts to everyone, and kind of he really inculcated this hobby, and he loved doing it all more because of how natural it was. Like you would have to see the soap bars to believe, like it almost looked edible. That's actually the fruition of how this started. Like we actually set up a stall in Goa, where physically we had to kind of actually make the shelves and things like that. And we did the whole season, and we really saw proof of concept in the most primal, most raw way. Like it's not like we were selling in through many portals and things like that, literally selling one on one each product. And that gave us a lot of confidence. And from there on, we started doing a lot of research with aromatherapy based products like scrubs, face masks, oils, more soap bars. And yeah, it kind of snowballed. Yeah, each in like from 2016 to obviously now it's 2022. It's been, I guess, 6 years, 6 years or more. It's kind of snowballed. Every year we would kind of develop into something more, something more. Simple things like compliance. We used to make these things from our farm,
Yeah.
from my house originally, where I'm actually here right now. In one of the rooms, we just had the soaps being cured.
Yeah.
From there to learning about compliance, learning about FDA rules to sell it legally, properly, actually, like to sell it on an Amazon or to sell it in a store. all these things it took years. Like it took a year to level up into these different things. So we kind of, every year has been such a learning process that we kind of really, we understand now that if someone says that, oh, I want to reach there, it takes that much time. It's never a fast forward process really. So that's one of the key learnings also that we got from this.
Yes, no, it's really reflective. It's very refreshing to know that, I mean, you're very candid about the fact that it wasn't something that, you planned to do. You shifted the career and then you started something from scratch. I feel like that itself is very courageous. And then, to make a shift, start everything from a very, low point where you have to do the grassroots level. You just told us,
Yeah,
about how you started from that cold press soap.
yeah,
I feel like that is fantastic. So much to learn over there.
yeah.
But Bhaskar, tell us one more thing. Like, we've seen these beautiful products now on the website, and there is like different ranges, for the face and for the body, overall skincare, right? So, tell us what it took to kind of, go behind the scenes, do the research for this, adapt to the Indian skin type, and how do you look at it from a holistic point of view of, just skin health as such for people? How do you
Yeah.
look at it, and as a co-founder, what was your thought behind it?
I think I've gone through the journey with our customers in a way, because the education, even the kind of knowledge people had before in terms of when we were trying to sell it online when we began, was so less compared to what people know right now. Everyone right now has a knowledge of each active, of what each active does, how is it derived, tell me exactly how that is done. So we've also come through that time where even like it took me also a couple of years to really learn and understand. But obviously we were working with formulators, we were working with industry experts while making these products, because that's one of the things. So if we used to first make 100% natural products. Then we went on to learn that if you're making a cream or even any water-based product, you can never be 100% natural because it has water in it. That
Yes.
will include microbial elements. That means it will get spoiled within 2 months. So a customer won't be happy. And
Yeah.
FDA will not approve this. So these are the things that we learned internally, and we kept kind of understanding really what goes behind the scenes. And to then not kind of greenwash with the customer is one of the things, right? Like now, we should, like when we made the soaps, they were 100% natural. But that claim sort of, we had to come out of it when we were making these serums or when we were making these other products, because we understood that that's not the case anymore. You can't do that with a serum. You can do it with oil blends, but
Yeah.
cream, serums, these things you can't. And I think that sort of behind the scenes learning was, we've done training. Manu's done many different courses. I've also done many courses. We've done workshops to teach people about aromatherapy also back in the day. So we've learned from people and we've taught people also. And I think it's all part of the journey really. And there's a big difference between what people knew in 2017-18 and what people know now. It's crazy.
I agree. Absolutely. There, even the whole consciousness from the point of a customer, right? Like, for
Yeah,
example, if I'm a consumer, not because of my profession, but even regardless, I feel like these days the consumers and the customers are so conscious about the kind of
yeah,
products they're buying, the kind of, investment that they want to do as far as, putting something on their skin is concerned or eating something is concerned, which is why,
yeah, yeah.
in the first place the initiative of talking about the entire brand prospect.
True,
So
true.
Bhaskar, tell us, you said you started in like 2016 and
Yeah,
today is like 22, and it's
yeah,
evolved. So many things
yeah.
have happened. You learned so many things along with your partners, right?
True.
um, if you had to kind of like talk about one challenge which really kind of changed things for you, and you kind of got the biggest learning in that challenge when you were formulating the brand and the products, can you share that with us?
Hmm. One challenge. I think growth, selling your product is always, it turns into a challenge after a point, especially when you're doing D2C.
Yeah.
When you're actually trying to convince each customer to buy a product from you, that is always one of the tough ones. Once you figure out the product, you can keep making products. It's end of the day, you can keep doing research, you can keep coming out with products, but you have to come out with products that resonate with people and what work in your channels. Like for example, we had to start online. We could never, as a small brand, you can't start in retail. You start online. So here we had to understand a different dynamic of how it was working for us. For example, the serum was working. It was the most expensive product in our roster, but that was working the best. And so then we doubled down on that. Although we started with soaps, we started with face masks and scrubs, we kind of shifted focus more towards more concern specific products. And this was all through the learnings and the marketing, and through while you have to also scale your brand, right? We can't be at the same place the entire time. So that's one of the evolutions for us also. Like, we had to kind of veer towards more concern specific products, because that's what worked in the internet, and that's what worked through performance marketing. And end of the day, growth. So you have to think about how you grow every year, because if you're decreasing in growth, it doesn't, even if, especially if you're looking for investment, that's one of the worst things that can happen to you as a company, is when your company goes below the sales they did last year.
Yes.
So yeah, that's paramount. That's all part of business also. So yeah, we learned how to do business also with this, honestly. That's one
Yes.
of the things that we've learned while doing
In
this.
the online channel, because you said that, and I feel like it's so true that when you are starting out, if you're starting on the online panel, and we've seen this on so many of the entrepreneurial shows. We've seen it
Yeah,
on Shark Tanks, and we've seen it on all the different kinds of platforms that talk about new entrepreneurship, right? So I feel
yeah.
like the online dimension is fantastic. But like, did you have any kind of like, when you were starting, or did you have any mantra that, okay, if we're starting online and, we're new in this space, maybe this has worked out the best for us? Was there
Yeah.
something like that? Can you share with us?
So what we thought is going to work didn't work when we started the online bit. So in 2018, when we launched our website, what we thought is going to work, which we were 100% sure of, didn't work at all. And
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. Like, for example, like at that time, like a perform, like even like an Instagram advertising and all, we never did it before, and it really worked. And we were shocked. And this was for us our growth spurt. Like, we were like, oh my god, like, how can we suddenly get so much sale in a day? Like, these little things that now it, like what we got at that time doesn't even like count, but at that time it was such a big pedestal for us to have these many orders in a day, and that was such a shocker.
Yeah.
And these were small learnings that we got. Like, for example, I said the vitamin C serum. It was such like 2250, even I was at that time very, but it costs us that much to make. Otherwise, we won't be able to, you know, make anything
Yes.
out of it.
True.
But that was working really well, and that kept working really. Like, even now, that's our top seller. Even like
Yeah.
now, it's been 4 years since 2000. Like, now 4 years, it's still our top seller. So these were things that sometimes what you plan out, it most of the time, honestly, 90% of the times, the things that we planned have not worked. Those 10% kind of let you make you survive. You have to keep trying and you keep failing, and then hopefully something works, something clicks. And the thing that clicks generally really clicks then. That's one
Yeah.
of the great things. It's not like a small click. It kind of takes you for 1-2 years at least.
Yes. Thank you. It's you. I mean, thank you for being so honest and, like really talking about the nitty gritties that kind of like, because, somebody, so many times we see these brands and they're like, so fancy and the packaging is great and the website is great, but nobody really comes on board and like speaks about the fact that, listen, you know what, there was so much of hard work involved. We went through so many different transitions just to be able
Hmm.
to bring out something which is now working great for us. So thank you
Yeah.
first for being so candid and honest. I feel it's so refreshing to get this kind of a perspective, you know and
Okay.
and
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you,
Hmm.
because you've gone through all these things and you've had experience even working for the brand, and prior to that in a different industry as well. If there was one life lesson, or one tip that you wanted to kind of like give all the young entrepreneurs who are probably listening, or
Hmm.
anybody who basically has
Hmm.
some kind of passion project that they're waiting to kind of get onto, so if
Yeah.
if you can share with us some useful tip.
Okay. Okay. Top of my mind. I guess it's one of those things that I've learned. I've even heard from like my dad's friends and uncles, and they used to always say this one thing: like, if you start a business, you have to wait for at least 3 years before it will start giving any fruit. And
Yes.
honestly, that's kind of makes sense now. It takes that long. Like, if you start any business, it's you have to first of all give it your all. You don't get to pay anything to yourself. So it's kind of selfless to a large degree for a long time, unless you're a veteran and you've sold 1, 2 businesses and you know a lot of things. But generally, when you start a business and you've never done it before, the first 2, 3 years are pretty tough. And also sometimes it's better not to have so much money, especially if you've never started a business before. It's better if you don't have that, because you'll end up burning a lot. So be frugal. If you're ever starting something, be very frugal. Don't spend on, just keep it with you till as long as you have, but try to progress also daily. Try to be very productive at the same time. You'll have to do everything yourself. You can't just start employing people in the beginning.
Yes.
And then, yeah, there on post, you see progress, you see money coming in, you can get people on board, then things start working way faster when you have people on board. Like what used to take me like a week to do, now I can get done in like half a day, because
Yeah.
you have people working with you. So simple things now, it's not just you doing it yourself. But these things take time. You can't, when your business is not making any money or doing anything, you should generally do it yourself, unless you are very savvy with funding and you can pitch a great business plan which can get you those many whatever millions to then do that kind. Then you're in a different space. Who I'm talking about is someone who is starting from grassroots and wants to start a business, but and is not that savvy to make that pitch deck, which honestly, that's also a lot of people have done really well in that front. I think that's a better way to go about it. If you can do that, work hard on finding the right whatever problem solution and uh, an amazing pitch deck that actually impresses someone to put money into you. That's another way. That's a great way, actually.
No, but that's
Both.
great banana advice. I feel like you can get the fundings and everything at one stage in life, but I feel like you said something. It's perfect. I feel like at least for the first 3 to 4 years, it could be anything. It could be a service oriented company.
Yeah.
It could be a product based company. I feel like the first 3 to 4 years are so essential, not just for the company's growth, but you as an entrepreneur. No matter how many partners you have,
Yeah.
that joint growth to learn so many different things and
Mm,
go through all the ups and downs.
mm.
It After that 3 4 years, the kind of expertise that comes out of it is phenomenal. So I feel
True,
like
true, true, true.
I feel
Yeah,
like
and
that's
so much learning. Yeah, like even I'm honestly it's like the infancy. It's like we have a long way to go.
yes,
This is quite basic. Like I'm sure there's like a
yes.
lot after that also. Yeah.
Yes. I'm sure there is a lot. I want to wish
Yeah.
you all the best for the journey with Neemli Naturals. As you said, it's a
Yeah.
long, very prosperous journey ahead. I want to thank you for being a part of the conversation today. I think I've had so much fun speaking to you, understanding, and especially the aspect where you were so honest and you came on board and you spoke about everything so candid. I love that. Thank you so much for doing that.
Oh,
And
anytime, anytime.
I wish you all the best with everything with Neemli Naturals and your personal growth as well.
Of course. Thanks so much, Karishma, for having me.